Welcome to the political segment of the weekend show. Now we're unpacking Nigeria's tax reform bills and what they mean for citizens and businesses. As the government pushes for economic changes, we'll explore whether these reforms will drive growth or create new challenges for Nigerians. So we'll be discussing this with our guests. We have Paul Alaje, who is an economist, joining us via Zoom. Good morning, Paul. It's nice to have you back here on the show.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me.
All right. So, the tax reform bill, it's been a trending topic all week across the nation. And I've had lots of people, asking, what does this mean? Could you break it down to me like I'm five? So, as an economist, I would like you to explain this, first of all, to our viewers. What is it? What's it about? Who does this affect? And what are the expectations from it before we get into the actual conversation?
Okay, so government is proposing a new tax bill to make adjustment to the current one, which includes helping remove, to some extent, multiple taxation, even though we cannot rule that out completely. Harmonization of the system, establishment of the ombudsman, which, as I talk to you, is not currently in place. If you have disputes with tax authority, I don't know how you're going to resolve that under the current regime. The tax authority or the committee that the president set up last year, June, headed by Mr. Oyedele, is also looking at how do we abolish stamp duty. You know, stamp duty is a colonial law that has remained with us. It's also to replace all form of colonial laws that are within our tax system. The tax bill is looking at reducing tax payment to zero tax for those who are doing business with turnover of less than 50 million naira turnover, which I think is commendable. It's also looking at to reduce taxes for large businesses that are doing above 50 million from 30% to a minimum to, I think, about 25%. So a number of things in the bill that the uh, proposed tax law is looking at. You also see FRS, that's Federal Inland Revenue Service. A tax bill actually submitted four bills. The tax committee submitted four bills. It's not just one. One of them is to change the name of FRS, if you like, in the real set is to repeal FRS bill and bring a national bill such that we will not have FRS. We're going to have something like a Nigerian Revenue Service that will not just be for federal government, but will be for the federation. So this has implication. So these are many other things is what this bill is discussing. At the end of the day, it's looking to generate more revenue to the government. One, two, is looking to compensate states that might be disadvantaged or the tax sharing lopsidedness is looking to address that problem. It's also looking at uh, capturing the reality of today. Minimum wage has changed. The current tax law says if you earn above 30,000 naira, you will pay taxes about 7%. Since minimum wage has changed, this tax law is also looking at increasing the limit or the cap of those of where tax payment starts to about 70,000 average. So this exactly is the situation.
Okay, so from what you said now, would you say that this tax reform bill would reduce Nigeria's borrowing? Is that a possibility from this?
Well, when it comes to borrowing, I doubt that it will reduce Nigeria's borrowing. I doubt, but I can tell you that there will be, because it depends on which component of borrowing. The truth is that some states will lose some money. It is the truth. Some will gain more. So the question is, if some states are losing money and some are gaining, where will they finance their budgets? It will still be back to borrowing. So this tax bill and we guarantee some level of revenue increase. But will that revenue increase be sufficient to have a significant reduction in borrowings? Well, it's not really very clear. Because when we remove subsidy, the hope was that Nigeria was going to reduce borrowing. But when you check the MTEF, Nigeria might be borrowing up to 13 trillion naira. This is higher than what we did in 2020, 2021, and I think 2022. I need to reconfirm that, even with the removal of subsidy and floating the naira. So it's important for us to look through very carefully so that our assumptions don't come back to haunt us.
Could you speak on the controversy, surrounding this bill, saying that the president has asked for a review by the Ministry of Justice and saying that it's also been suspended at the Senate? Could you speak on that?
Yes, it's important the president mentioned that the Ministry of Justice should look at it, to look at the legality or otherwise, because some sectors have said it will be repealing their acts. It intends to repeal a number of acts. So we do say that it's justifiable that this tax bill come and repeal those acts. I think the minister of the Ministry of Justice will be in the best position to look at that, so that we are not using gaining one and losing from the other side, so that we know that when we are passing the bill, we are holistic, we are taking a right decision, which I think is fine. And I know the committee, based on what they said at the time or conversation we had, they are open, they are flexible, they are willing to, at the end of the day, they are Nigerians and they want the interest of Nigeria. They want Nigeria to grow. At the Senate, it's been North versus South. It's a sad one. I don't see any reason why a bill should divide us. And that is why I refuse to address some senators and northern senators, southern senators. They are senators of Federal Republic of Nigeria. That's the way I see them. That will not change. And there are areas of concerns. Unfortunately, the key area of concerns that Nigerians should worry about is not really what the senators are discussing, except and unless they are deliberate and they are not discussing those now. But I think what they are discussing regarding area of concern may really not be. And the interesting thing here is that
All right, I believe we're having some technical issues, but we'll come back here to the studio where I have Dr. Silas NMRA. Um, Good morning. It's really nice to have you here. I saw you nodding, really interested in that conversation. Could you share your thoughts on what Paul Alaja said in regards to the topic at hand?
All right, thank you. I picked a keen interest in what he was saying because he was hitting the points as he should be. The tax reform bill is a fantastic idea, which every developing nation should look up to, But there are certain fears people have, particularly Nigerians and the senators who are on the part of Nigerians and say, oh, if we do this, we are heading for a doom. Okay, so for example, we have a problem of implementation. Now, what are the legal framework, just like he mentioned, that he will leave that to the Minister of Justice to handle? The legal framework, do we have a legal framework we can trust? You also look at, I mentioned implementation earlier, and implementation is all-encompassing because it has to do with monitoring, supervision. Do we have those mechanisms to monitor this thing? So this is the fear. And then, in all, the aim for the tax reform bill is to look for alternative means to generate revenue for the nation. Now, when these funds are generated for the country, how will it be used? Now, are we or have we fought corruption to its barest minimum? Because that's where we are heading to. When you take money from people like in the Western world, you see the money working for you. So in this case, do we have a system we can trust in terms of judicious use of these funds?
And who do we hold accountable if, it's not used accordingly?
That is the problem. And that's why I say, do we have a legal framework that can punish if there is breaching either those who are to pay and those who are to also put this money to use? So this is the fear. And that's why the northern governors are saying, no, we don't want this. We're not ready for this. Nigeria is not ready for this. When you look at Rwanda, this is what Rwanda had done. And today, if you travel to Rwanda, you will see the immense work in terms of infrastructure, education, even healthcare. You will see all of these things. This is taxpayers' money. But in Nigeria, can we be sure that we can set up these things and then it will pay off at the end of the day? For example, you need up-to-date technology, protected technology that would be used instead of this our normal receipted form of paying tax, and people can swindle money as much as they want. So we were saying that we have a digitalized system that works, that people can trust, and paying their money. Yes, changing FIRS to Nigerian, how do you want to call it, okay? It's fantastic, but these are not the things. There are cogent questions that need to be answered. And this is where Nigerians are, like myself. I own several companies in Nigeria. And so if you're bringing this, I'm happy to pay. I pay my FIRS bills all the time. But are these monies being put to use? This is the question. So
right.
yeah, so this is it.
Okay, so we also have Suleiman Ibrahim, the Sarkintilijo Mchkadamawa State, joining us. It's nice to have you back here on the show.
Thank you, Didi.
Yes, it's good to see you. So we've been
Thank
talking
you.
about the tax reform bills. I would like to hear your thoughts on that, seeing as there's a lot of noise coming from the northern states.
Yeah. So, glory be to God. Anything has a purpose or reason. The federal government might have, or the president might have his reason behind it, but you see, anything is not supposed to be publicized to be something of politics. And the president is also a human. If you really like him, you must not accept or adopt any decision he brings on board, because it might not be perfect, being a human. You see, talking about this reform of tax reform of 18, it's just a few interests. The bad thing to me in the issue is the way and manner it is being carrying, carrying out, or there is no serious advertisement. Look at the controversy surrounding it in National Assembly. The Dume was saying that it was smuggled. It was not part of the schedule. So, and I read some article yesterday. The president of the Senate is saying they will go ahead with anything as long as the Senate accepts it whatsoever it will be to Nigerians. They don't care. So it's very dangerous, because the differences between democratic government and other type of government, I think, is legislative. So in a situation where there is no proper legislating or legislative, I think is very dangerous, because if you look at, if we take back our mind to 1966, Night of the Broken Glass, it was all the decision of the militaries. But what happened at the end? Revenge happened to take place after that decision. Why? Simply because of maybe mockery. That there is a mockery of a certain region to this thing. You understand? So we should be very careful. We are enjoying this national democracy. We should not, more especially the legislature, should not be acting drama, should not be doing things as if they are with impunity. No, a democratic system should follow. Let there be proper things. Whatsoever they do properly, it is okay. You see, talking about the reform itself, to me, is just is just either I say envy or jealous that, okay, why I'm the richest person, I don't want others to this thing. To the best of my understanding, the beneficiaries to this thing, they are not more to up to 5 states in Nigeria: Lagos, Rivers, Abuja, and Ogun. Apart from that, not only North, people are saying North. You see, Imo is the least tax this thing in this country, and there are more than 4 other this thing below Zamfara State. So it's not about North, but they are just politicizing it to be this thing. Whatsoever you will bring on board, if people are having issue about it, bring it clearly, reopen it. Maybe many people now are saying it is just means to actualize the dream of Lagos of having special, in fact, just for she to maintain whatever she has. So that thing is not okay. We are talking of Nigeria. It should not be as if what you have, you will be jealous of why the other states cannot just. They should also remember backwards. Then, other states contribute to the national.
Interesting, you said politicize, and sorry to cut you there, but Dr. Silas,
Yes.
there's this question that's been dancing in the air since the controversy around it began, and it's: do you think it's politics at play, or do you think there are actual things to be corrected for
No.
this bill to take place?
No, it is not politics at play, actually. Let us understand. I think the major concern here is people having holistic knowledge of what the tax reform bill actually is. This is the problem. Because first, like I mentioned, is an alternative means to generate revenue. Okay? The major means of revenue generation in Nigeria is oil. We all know that. And you know that the market is very volatile because the pricing is monitored or controlled rather by the global market. So when there's a rise, you benefit. When there's a crash, you're at a loss. Do you understand? And that affects everything that happens in your country. So if you allow international market to determine how you generate revenue here, it becomes a problem. So this is more like looking inwards. What can we do? Okay, so, and how do we intend to implement this? Like I said initially, I had pointed out some questions that may trigger or rather be the problem why Nigerians are saying, no, we don't want this. We don't like new things, but if there is proper awareness, people will now understand. For example, it is to simplify the tax system so that small businesses can grow because there will be incentives for them. And they're saying those big businesses, big corporations already, should pay more. But the only way it affects the small businesses is indirectly, and it's through VAT. So we're saying that if there is increased VAT, it means small businesses will still suffer a little because there will be less purchasing power. Do you understand now? So it's just like saying, if I generate up to 150 million every year, why shouldn't I be able to pay a little percentage to the government? Because it has created that enabling environment for my business to thrive. And if the money being taken from me is now giving us an incentive to a smaller business to grow. As that business grows as well, it employs people, okay? And that's another means of growing the economy. So this is the aim. So I can tell you for free that the fear of the people, particularly another place I didn't mention, is another delve into digital economic generation. Like the fintech companies, we have like Jumia. These people earn money online without paying nothing. You even buy goods, other goods online, they still charge you for VAT. VAT that is not paid to the government. Do you understand? So they are saying that these people now have to be paying us, or those who are already paying, there has to be an increase in payment, in VAT payment. We're talking about pay stack. What do they pay back to the government? And you know, today in the world today globally, you order things online, you order your food online, you pay almost everything online. What does the government get from it? This is the thing. So they are looking at how to put these things together and get some money from them. Now the question is, these monies that will be gotten. Lagos have done very good with this thing we're talking about. Lagos generates their internally generated revenue about 75%. Is digitalized. And you see, and it's working. So the fear is that they are saying, oh, some states don't have the capacity to generate so much money because they don't have the system yet. But we are saying we're using Lagos as a model. So if it can work in Lagos, it means it can be implemented in other states and it will work.
Okay.
There is no state in Nigeria that does not have one or two things that can lead to revenue generation. When you
Yeah.
go to the north, when you talk about Zamfara, they have gold. Is the government directly in charge of harnessing that gold? You get the idea now. So we are saying that the only fear here, it's a fantastic idea. The only fear here is the policymakers. And then I'm appealing personally to the chairman in charge of the committee for the tax reform bill, who is a distinguished Senator Abamoro. He's from my place. Okay? I'm appealing that they should exhaust every possible measures to put, because the legal framework is everything. When you don't pay, you are punished. You know your punishment. You know, and when you pay, you are sure that the money is effectively used. So that since the president has done well to bring out this bill, the next channel is to send it to the National Assembly, which he has done. Now, they are meant to look into it critically, if possible, invite experts that understand it, partly from countries who have implemented this same system of revenue generation, and see how they did it, learn from it, and then see how to incorporate ours together, and then see how this can work for Nigerians. Are we getting the idea now? So we are saying that, one, there must be equity.
Yeah.
Two, there must be transparency. Transparency. Three, there must be awareness. You must let people know that this thing we are bringing is not to kill you. When you travel, when you go to the UK, everything you do, you pay tax. And so we can do the same thing here, but let us ensure that our leaders, when they generate this money, should be put judiciously into use. There's a thin line between opportunity and risk. So in as much as the idea is good, the pitfall will emerge because there will be inflation at the end of the day. And what have you put in place to ensure that small businesses that are already experiencing difficulties today don't suffer inflation due to VAT? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll still have Paul Alaja on Zoom. Hello, Paul. I hope you've been enjoying the conversation we're having here in the studio.
Yes, I have been.
Yes.
I've been following
Is
the
there
conversation.
anything we're going to end shortly? But is there anything you'd like to add, and what can we expect in the coming days concerning
First
this
of
bill?
all, I would say I will never support any form of increase in taxation. Talking about VAT, the inflation is not what you'll be able to handle. I hear my brother, I don't know, maybe he's from Zone C of Benue State. I hear him very well, but he should be weary of just wanting to pat inflation on the back. You, the anchor of this program, will tell him if you go to the market, how almost on weekly basis prices change. To that extent, it's important for us to know. I don't know if you can still hear me.
Yes, I can hear it clearly.
To that extent, I would want to recommend that, yes, I support the tax law, I support the bill. I know some persons have concerns, It's important for government to consult robustly, but there are some things that must be reviewed in that bill. I've said it at the town hall meeting. One of them is don't increase VAT to 10% next year. Next year is a few days. Don't increase it. The challenge is that for most people that pay taxes in Nigeria, we don't claim input VAT. The system to make input VAT claims seamless must be in place. Because according to the chairman, what we already pay now, even though it's 7.5, is tantamount to 12%. Because at the point of payment, input VAT become an issue. And you will not be able to handle the inflation. Remember that last year, I had a conversation with you and your colleague. I said, flotation, the way we want to do it, we bring exchange rate to 1,005. It sounded absurd. It sounded mindless. Today, it's over 1,700. The bill is good, up to 6 to 70%, 60 to 70%. I think 70%. But there are these rate increases after minimum wage, increasing the rate to 15%. It's also not good because you still have major component of poor people in there. Somebody that earn 100,000 today, what can he do with it? You now say he should pay 15% of extra? I don't support it. I think what we should be looking at is 7%, 11%, then 15%. At the end of the day, all these reduction in rate, we benefit it from people that earn above 50 million. So this is my advice, and I think this is what authorities should do. There are other concerns that I've seen in the bill. I've made them available on my X. I've made these concerns available on my X page, and because of time, as you've mentioned, I may not be able to go through them, but I have a paper ready, and I'm very hopeful that as the conversation expands, one will discuss more as to what is to be done. But
Yeah.
one thing very clearly is rate review. They mustn't start now. Should we go into a new regime with 7.5? Yes. Should we go into a new regime trying to tax the rich more? Yes. Three, I would want the committee or the tax committee led by Mr. Oyedele to do a financial demonstration. Because when you hear your guest in the studio, don't underrate his statement. The man, I don't know which state he came from, the one that dressed in quote and unquote modern attire, don't underrate what he's saying. If people don't know, our job as professionals is to prove to them. How do we prove to them? This is what Sokoto State is earning now. This is what Imo State is earning now. This is what Oyo State is earning now. This is what Benue State is earning now under the current regime. If we change derivation from 20% to 60%, based on the report we have from MBS and the report we have from FRS and your state LRS, this is what you will now earn, not percentage, real numbers. Once we are able to prove to them that way, nobody will complain again. Who does not want to have more revenue? But if I ask the man in your studio, I don't know if I'm permitted to ask, does he know how much we come to Benue State when this policy is implemented? And the other man, I guess in white, I'm not seeing, I think white in a traditional attire. Does he
Yeah.
know how much his state will earn? The truth is that revenue to your state would increase, but by how much you don't know. So, but if you don't know, you will not support it. So, as professionals, our job is to let you know. And that is why I'm advocating for more town hall meetings where we will go there with chalks or with marker and whiteboard, with projector and presentation to prove to you that you have nothing to lose. But if we are just using, it's going to increase by 10%, who percentage help? Nobody. So that is the way we convince those sections who are not particularly comfortable with it. Stay with the numbers. This is the consumption is your state. This is what it will translate to by the time we start a new regime. Then we move forward. The aspect of targeting, this is important, I say it. Targeting a class of community or a class of our society should also be removed. The reason is because it's important for us to have small businesses, but check all economies from India, especially China, Europe, all through Europe, what's it called? America. It is the rich that grows the economy and the middle class. It is not a crime for the rich to be rich.
Okay, Paul
Countries
Alaja,
that are
thank you
targeting
very
them,
much. I
including
would have
UK,
to just
you can see
stop
their
you there.
infrastructure and
And
building is
thank you
archaic and
very
old,
much. You've added
unlike
so much to this
America that's
conversation.
encouraging
But before
investments.
we
Thank you.
go, Sullivan, I would like to know your final words on this particular topic, just in 30 seconds.
Thank you. To me, federal government are targeting more people, poor masses again, because it's too much on the masses. My dear Didi, you see, just recently on this electronics transfer levy, 15 naira added tax. Today, because of that 15 naira, to withdraw 10,000 naira on POS, you have to pay 400 naira, for goodness sake. It's revamping back on the masses.
People, yeah.
And talking about that, if you are not earning more than up to 800,000 in a year, the tax is not for you. Minimum wage is 70,000, for goodness sake. That's to say federal government is targeting every a person, because the minimum wage is 70,000. So you earn more than 800,000, of course, annually. So look at subsidy just gone. People are with that pain. The evaluation of Naira have destroyed the system all. This tax again, my dear, let the country reason about the citizen. I'm telling you, look at now cashless society, my place, with your grain, because of cash. Something that you're supposed to sell it 10,000 naira, because there is no cash, somebody will offer you 4,000 naira. So please, this thing, just in less than 2 years, Nigerians are facing different types of crises. I don't think it's okay. The government and the people that need to listen have to do something about it, because this thing is more than just crisis. It is, the masses are dying. They are dying. The only thing that is not happening, maybe they have not come out to streets to start doing this thing. But hardship has no listening ear to any situation. It will reach to a point people might not resist. Please, let the
Very,
government do
very
something about
important
it.
points you've made there, and we hope the government are listening and changes would be made. Yes. Thank you so much to Paul Alaja, Suleiman Ibrahim, and Dr. Silas Enemari for this insightful conversation. You know, as things unfold, we hope to have you back to, talk more on it and see how everything eventually plays out.
15 seconds to say something.
Okay.
I would reiterate to say that the tax reform bill is not to kill. The fear, what kills, which is the fear, is the implementation,
Okay.
supervision,
There should be
monitoring.
structure.
Are we getting it? Because it's supposed to be like a rollover system. You take, it's coming back, you take, it's coming back, you take, it's coming back, and you're seeing the effect of what this revenue is being generated is doing in Nigeria,
All
in the
right.
country.
Thank you very
Fantastic.
Sorry,
Wait,
just
because of
1
time.
minute, 2 seconds. You see, a subsidy has just been removed. What are the government doing with the subsidy? Nothing. You understand? Another wound on us again. So, there must be a structure on ground
A structure
before
of
certain
accountability,
things.
that's
Yeah,
what you're
please.
saying, yes.
Let us be
I think it's
convinced.
exactly
All
what
right.
you're saying.
All right, so we have to go because of
Thank you.
time, but very
Thank you.
interesting conversation. I hope to have you back to discuss that also. All right, that's it for the political segment of the weekend show. We still have much more coming up, so stay with us.